Light. Without it, there's darkness, a cold nothingness that pervades ever so dominantly. The light from the sun cuts through the darkness to illuminate the kingdom of Hyrule, warming it so the people of the land can live. Similarly, the light from the goddess's wisdom cuts through the darkness of ignorance, greed, and hatred to illuminate the path of enlightenment, warming her people so they can prosper. A light was subtly illuminating Link's surroundings. It was a pure white light with an ethereal, almost mystical quality to it, much like the voice that was trying to bring him around. Link. Link. Link did not remember where he was or what was happening at first, much like the transition one makes while gently awaking from a dream. Wake up, Link. The white light was beginning to sneak into Link's narrowed eyelids, which were slowly opening. His consciousness recalled this white light from before, and the feeling that conflicted this peaceful glow. It was the feeling of dread that engulfed Link when he saw him amidst the white light. Ganondorf, the evil king from the desert, whom Link allowed to enter the white light of what must have been the sacred realm. Link, fully awake and aware of what had just come to pass, was looking on at the man addressing him. The Hylian man before him was very advanced in age, as demonstrated by his worn face and silver mustache, which wrapped his face from ear to ear and bled up through his sideburns to the back of his head, where it culminated into a short ponytail. He was a fairly plump man, wearing baggy orange robes with especially baggy sleeves. A white and crimson satchel adorned with an ornate triforce was affixed to his belly. "I am Rauru," he piously explained, "one of the ancient sages." Link was at a loss for words. The man appeared old, but this would make him centuries old. "I am the last remaining spirit of the original sages, who built the Temple of Time to protect the entrance to the sacred realm." Rauru started to pace around Link. Spirit. The sacred realm was some sort of spirit world, and this spirit, surely disappointed by the breach in this protection, was one of the original 7 sages Zelda had spoken of. Zelda. Link remembered the white mare fleeing the city with the princess and her handmaid mounted atop it. Had Ganondorf turned around to tail Link to the Temple of Time? Perhaps Link had found a silver lining to being baited by Ganondorf. Zelda was safe. "I am the Sage of Light, and this is the Chamber of Sages, inside the Temple of Light," Rauru continued. "Situated in the very center of the sacred realm, the Temple of Light is the last stronghold against Ganondorf's evil forces." Link was just about to speak finally, to answer for his actions, but Rauru cut him off. "You must be beside yourself at the turn of events that have transpired, perhaps even angry with yourself for allowing Ganondorf to access the sacred realm. But I assure you, Link, it had to be this way," Rauru grimly told him. Link didn't have to speak. Rauru took the words right out of him. But why did it have to be this way? "I don't want you to be alarmed, Link," Rauru paused. "But look at yourself." Link did as Rauru said, looking down at himself, and was in utter disbelief at what he saw. He was taller, with bigger hands and longer arms. His green tunic and ringmail were now tightly conforming to a filled-out, toned body. He reached up to his face. It felt more defined, with a chiseled nose and a square jaw. His pointy Hylian ears were proportionally longer, and his long blonde hair was now flowing. "Link, you've grown up," Navi proclaimed. Link, aghast, looked to Rauru for an explanation. "What?" Link immediately stopped, noticing the dropped tone of his post-pubescent voice. Rauru pulled out a sword that Link had nearly forgotten about. The Master Sword in his hands was presented in a rib-textured sheath that matched its blue hilt. "You see, the Master Sword, the evil-destroying sword you pulled out of the pedestal of time, is a sacred blade that evil ones may never touch. Only one worthy of possessing a hero's spirit can pull it from the pedestal. However, you were too young to take on this role. Therefore, your spirit was sealed here for 7 years. 7 years? Link cried. Where is Ganondorf? Rauru sighed. I'm afraid when Ganondorf infiltrated the sacred realm, he obtained the sacred Triforce. Link closed his eyes in despair as Rauru continued to break the news. With his power, he became the King of Evil. His evil power radiated from the temples of Hyrule, and in 7 short years, it transformed Hyrule into a world of monsters. My power now has only little influence, even in this sacred realm, but fortunately, I am able to hold off his forces from within this chamber of sages, at least for the time being. Link remembered the destruction in the city, seemingly just happening to Link, but if that was 7 years ago in reality, what evil reign has come over the kingdom for those 7 years? Right under Link's nose. Is there any hope, Rauru? Link asked desperately. Rauru pensively hesitated. There is. The power of the sages remains. I thought you said you were the last remaining sage. I am the last remaining sage, Rauru struggled as he became choked up. My fellow sages were erased by the evil king. Link was at a loss. How far did Ganondorf's destruction reach? But though their spirits are absolved, Rauru whispered, approaching Link's face, their power can never die. That is why I have hope that that power has found others throughout Hyrule. So you think they've been reincarnated somehow? Link asked hopefully. Not exactly, Rauru explained. My brothers that have served in protecting with me all that time are gone. I have accepted that. But the people their power I trust has found, they need to be awakened, to fully embrace the becoming of a true sage. Where are these people? Link asked. That is where you come in, my boy. Rauru smiled at Link for the first time. He placed his hand on his shoulder. With the power of the Master Sword, which has chosen you to be its wielder, I believe you can find the 6 remaining sages and awaken that power within them. Then with the restored strength of the sages behind you and the Master Sword, I believe we can put an end to Ganondorf's evil reign. Everything was beginning to sink in with Link. 7 years was a long time for Hyrule to suffer under his rule. What was the point of traversing Hyrule once more for this? Ganondorf won. He got his maniacal hands on the Triforce, and now rules the kingdom as well as the sacred realm because of it. But this thought was almost too much to bear for Link. The guilt it caused was growing heavier the longer the thought lasted. Yes, it was too late to prevent Ganondorf from obtaining the Triforce, but if this was the only thing they could do, then it was the only thing to do. Do you understand your destiny? Rauru asked. Link looked up at Rauru, the last sage of legend. He was the last line of defense between Ganondorf's reign and the one place untouched by his influence. Link let down his fellow sages, but he wouldn't let Rauru down if he could help it. Link nodded his head with confidence. Keep my spirit with you, my boy. Rauru once again put his hand on Link's shoulder as he blessed him. Find the other sages and save Hyrule. Rauru then handed Link the Master Sword with his other hand. He reached to Link's eyes, gently closing his eyelids. When he opened his eyes, he was suddenly back in the Temple of Time, on top of the sun engraving in the center of the cathedral. The door of time was still open, but remarkably, everything remained untouched after all those years. Link, we're back in the Temple of Time, said Navi. But have 7 years really passed? It's just like how we left it. Link knew better, though. The city outside would surely be much different, and who knew how the rest of the land was affected. He was prepared to see the effects of the 7 sorrowful years gone by, but he was determined to make something right in the world. Looking down at his hand, he saw that he was still holding the Master Sword sheathed in the sleeve Rauru gave him. He gave a slight smirk as he took the sword once more by the hilt and unsheathed it, hearing a shing as the incomparable steel scraped its way out. Through all of this, Link still had the knapsack he packed as a child, to which he affixed the Master Sword's sheath, along with his Hylian shield. Together, they hung on his back. After examining the sacred blade one more time, he reached to sheathe it on his back and prepared to depart the temple. Link was nearly out the door when he heard a light thump of feet landing behind him. Grabbing for the hilt again, this time in defense, he swiftly turned around to find a cloaked figure, poised in stealth. The figure was short in stature, with scarlet eyes peeking from behind a swath of blonde bangs. The hair shot out from a head wrapped in a white cloth band, with the rest of his face concealed in a veil of the same material. The cloth was also wrapped around the forearms and shoulders of his muscular body, which was wrapped in a tight blue fabric. It was his chest that boasted a familiar sigil, a red eye shedding a single tear. "Are you a Sheikah?" Link asked him. "I am," said a soft voice from behind the veil. "I've been waiting for you, Link." "How do you know me?" Link asked, a little cautious of this mysterious person. "My name is Sheik. I am the last survivor of the Sheikah tribe." "What happened to them?" Link responded, reveling in that statement. Then his heart really dropped when he thought of her. "What happened to Impa?" "Impa was my mother," Sheik explained, choked up. He began to step towards Link. Link was racking his mind. "Impa never said anything about having a son. I lived in the castle with her." She gave a slight chuckle. "Sometimes it felt like Zelda was a sister who got more attention. But that's the way it's always been with the Sheikah serving the royal family." Link had to know. There was something in the bottom of his heart driving him to desire an answer. A specific answer. "Do you know what happened to them, Impa and Zelda?" "Against all odds," Sheik started, fighting back tears. "I escaped the castle. I hid out among the rubble of the city and waited. Miraculously, my mother came riding forth, on a different horse than the white mare, hiding the princess. Altogether, we fled to Kakariko to join whatever resistance was being put up there." He turned away from Link, hiding a tear streaming down his face. "We were both so young." He turned back to Link, approaching him to put his hand on his shoulder. "Impa, my mother, fought, but she didn't make it." "I'm so sorry, Sheik." Link was crushed to hear this, and it made him nervous to hear Zelda's fate. "After that, Zelda and I fled the village, and we just lived on the run, for years. I took care of her, but I couldn't." Sheik turned away again, hiding more tears. "One day we were spotted, ambushed by a gang of Ganondorf's minions. We both fought, but she became wounded." He turned around again to face him. "Link, I'm sorry." Sheik was just shaking his head, but Link knew exactly what it meant. Devastated, he buckled to his knees and started to sob. "I finished off the lot, but it was too late. I held her in my arms as she gave her last breath. To keep her body safe, I buried her someplace hidden. An unmarked grave for the former princess of Hyrule, my friend." Link looked up at him through his tears. "You two were close then?" He smiled. "She was always a mate to play with during our childhood. But when that was taken from us, you really do grow close while on the run together." Link felt a whole slew of emotions, one of which he realized was jealousy. But he wiped away his tears and stood up. There was nothing he could do about it now but avenge her. "Sheik, I'm ready to put my life on the line and do what it takes to fix this." "You're embarking on a journey to awaken the sages, are you?" "How did you—" "My mother always had bedtime stories of legends, prophecies, of a hero uniting the people of Hyrule against a certain evil by awakening the power of the sages in each tribe. When evil rules all, an awakening voice from the sacred realm will call those destined to be sages who dwell in the 5 temples. One in deep forest, one on a high mountain, one under a vast lake, one within the house of dead, one inside a goddess of sand. Together with the hero, the awakened ones will bind the evil and return the light of peace to the world. This is the legend of the temples passed down by the Sheikah." Link recognized the first 3. It was the itinerary of his travels to collect the spiritual stones: Kokiri Forest, Death Mountain, and Lake Hylia. "If you believe the legend, you have no choice. You must look for the 5 temples and awaken the 5 sages. One sage is waiting for the time of awakening in the forest temple. The sage is a girl I am sure you know." "Saria?" Link automatically responded. He hadn't thought of her since the embarkment of his quest. "How did you know about—" "That's what Zelda and I were doing for all those years. We traveled Hyrule in search of these 5 evasive temples. I will be there every step of the way to help you. You need not worry, Link." With that, He abruptly slammed an object on the ground that caused a disorienting flash. Sheik had performed the disappearing act Link saw from Impa 7 years prior. With this silence, Navi came out from under Link's hat. "I heard it all, Link. I'm sorry." Link nodded at her, sad, but grateful to have her still. He turned and faced the front entrance to the Temple of Time. "Let's go home, Navi." With that, the two departed. They were headed on a second part of their journey.